when you run down that type of list of talent that's going to sit out the spring, my thought is, you know, Buckeye fans who are just focused on this team don't know what's going on elsewhere. That may sound alarming, but it's really not. It's pretty typical of spring ball across the landscape of college football now. However, do we see any particular players in that group that either could really use, and I mean everybody can use reps, but really could use the reps? So this may, hurt them in that regard, or where the injury is at a point where this could affect their August camp.
I think Court Williams is a guy that really would have benefited. I think Evan Pryor is a guy who would have benefited, certainly at running back. Those two guys, Jacob James, as we mentioned, would be in the competition at center. So there's three guys right there. Looks like Mitchell Melton is out there in some kind of limited duty. They don't want to lose him. Alluded to that lack of depth at defensive end. Maybe Mitchell Melton is a guy, if he's healthy in the fall, that can help them at defensive end. He was wearing, I think, number 17 in white yesterday. Let's see. Those are probably three or four off the top of my head. The rest are entrenched guys like Tommy Eichenberg, who's set, Travion Henderson, who's pretty well set. Travion Henderson was out there jogging around a little bit. He had foot surgery, as people will recall, sometime in December or early January, I believe. He had foot surgery and missed the bowl game, and obviously was in and out of the lineup with injuries for a good part of the season. You just hope he's healthy. Coach Day said he's had a tremendous attitude and has attacked his rehab and wanted to even get into the mat drills during the off-season conditioning program, jumped into one of them with a protective boot on his foot, and they had to pull him out of there and say, no, you need to heal, continue to heal. You don't want to risk a setback or an injury. You had surgery on your foot. You need to let it heal to get back to 100%. But he was out there jogging around at least a little bit yesterday. So he is chomping at the bit to get back in there. And again, this is a guy in his contract year. He's got to prove a lot. If he wants to be running backs don't typically go maybe high first round, but if he wants to be a first, second round NFL draft pick, he's got to have a great year. And, that's in the cards for him if he's able to get back. So, yeah, kind of a mixed bag on the injury front. And, again, most important thing is get those guys healthy so that you have as much depth as possible. I'm just struck by how many newcomers there were at practice yesterday. You had the Syracuse transfer, Jahad Carter. You had the long snapper there from Arizona State, Furlman. You had the quarterback, Tristan Gebbia, coming in from Oregon State. He's the third string quarterback as of right now, it seems. So, you had a lot of new faces. Victor Cutler, I said this on our show this morning. He was out there and looked like he belonged, no question about it. So I think he's going to help him either at tackle or at center, maybe even at guard. Who knows? So he's a guy that with more experience playing in a college football game than anybody else they've got. So on the offensive line, so give him a shot. So it's going to be, I think it's going to come together in a good way. I think, but yesterday was day one, 15 practices in the spring, 29 more before the season starts. So what does that add up to? 44 practices before the first game, and they've had one. So long journey ahead for this team.
I will say, in the other part of your question, Mark, none of those injuries are expected to go into August. Ryan Day said that, and a lot of these are just cleanups from the season. This is the time. This is the off season still technically. So you get clean. You get a surgery in January after the season. You're still dealing with rehab here in March and April.
Yeah, and sometimes we, as fans, think about compartmentalizing the various aspects of the entire calendar year, but it's not just, you show up day one for spring practice, and then when spring practice is over in the spring game, then you move on, and we're not going to see you till August 1st. There's a lot of individual workouts. There are winter workouts, so they keep tabs on all these guys and know where they're at in their development and obviously in their strength and conditioning. But was Ryan Day, I listened to the majority of the news conference, but was he asked the obligatory, has this group moved on from Georgia? Have they turned the page?
Was it before the session even started? Jerry Emig, the SID, was like, "Hey, can we kind of just keep the questions to like what's going on here today?" I think he was alluding to didn't want necessarily combine questions, but I think a lot of that was also like, "Can we just leave the Georgia and Michigan out of the picture for now?" So I don't know that really ever came up too much of that stuff because we did
It
talk to
didn't
him
with
about
Day,
it.
but it did with Jim Knowles.
Well, yeah, it's going to. I mean, that's going to be the thing that Jim Knowles has to keep going back to until it's no longer a thing. And it'll be a thing with Jim Knowles until the final 2 games of Ohio State's
Well, they beat
2023
Michigan.
season. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so this is going to be with him until then, and every game about it is going to, like the first 10 games, 11 games of the season won't even necessarily matter in terms of the defensive production. But
He hopes it doesn't matter.
yeah, right, exactly. Yes, because if it matters, then you've got another issue. But yeah, it was all just there wasn't much talk about Georgia from Day. This is the first chance to talk to Day about what's going on today, and so that's what we did.